All right, so I have to tell everybody who's watching this that Sid and I go a long way back. I actually made my national debut with Sid through Hero Hockey India League. We used to come on Star Sports back in the day, my first gig ever. And ever since, Sid has been such an inspiration because, well, Sid is always seen around with books. He's always reading books on hockey. Let me tell you all, he used to be a former hockey player and now an ace commentator. You've seen him in Olympics. I think there were a couple of videos that went viral, which Sid was a part of. So, yeah, welcome to my YouTube channel, yo.
Pleasure to be here as always. Yeah, those were really good days. A lot of learning back then. And yeah, it's been a great journey for both of us. And it's been a great journey. Yeah, so happy to keep going. And yeah, I think both of us really love what we do. So yeah, especially talking about sports.
Indeed. And talking about sports, Asian Games is around the corner. So I'm pretty sure your calendar is occupied.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it because last time when the Asian Games came around in Jakarta, I was not able to do it for whatever reason. So, despite doing two Olympic Games, a host of World Cups, multiple other projects, I've never done the Asian Games.
Oh,
So,
really?
I'm really looking forward. Yeah, I've never done the Asian Games, so I'm really looking forward to the Asian Games. I've done Commonwealth, I've done multiple Olympic Games, and so on and so forth. But for some reason, Asian Games never happened. I thought it would happen. We all thought it would happen last year, but they got postponed, giving
Yeah.
us the most unique 4-year Olympic cycle ever,
Ever.
um,
Yeah.
ever, ever. So happy it's happened this year, which will give us a real insight into how prepared our athletes are for Paris next year.
Perfect. Sid, let's just dive into it. Let's just dive into it with the tagline. Is bar so par? Do you think so?
Uh, I wouldn't want to put a number to it, Ridhima, but I have no doubt in my mind that it is going to be our most successful Asian Games ever. I think we are going to return with a medal tally that's going to be, I won't say hard to beat in the future because we only are getting better and better at sports, but the kind of athletes we have across sports right now, especially track and field, I think it's going to be our best ever medal tally. I have no doubt about that. And we are really, really going to be pushing up the medal tally in terms of gold medals won. So I think it's going to be the most incredible Asian Games where there will be days where we will be winning back-to-back gold medals every hour.
Oh,
It's
wow.
going to
I
be
love it.
that big. Yeah, it's going to be that big. And I don't think people have realized that yet, or it hasn't sunk in yet. Possibly because of all that's going on in our country with G20 and so on. We are currently occupied with a lot that's happening as a nation, Chandrayaan's moon landing and so on and so forth. But I think as we get closer to the Asian Games, it's going to dawn upon a lot of people that this edition is going to be seriously special.
You know, if everything that you say is true, which I also believe it, by the way, I really believe that this is going to be. So 2018 Asian Games has been the most successful Asian Games we've had so far in terms of a medal tally.
Yeah,
I did it. I was in Jakarta when I hosted it.
I
Uh,
remember.
yeah, so now I really feel that we're going to cross it. And with everything that you said, with G20 happening, Chandrayaan landing, becoming the first nation to land on the dark side of the moon and everything, I think it's going to be such a perfect time for us to be able to do that. Is because right
Yeah,
now, just the story of the growth of India is incredible. And we've been able to do the same in multidisciplinary sports. I think we're just going to take off on another tangent altogether. But with you,
yeah.
let's talk about hockey, man. Tell me about everything that has changed about men and women's hockey and what are our prospects this year.
Yeah, first of all, I'll take your last question first because, much like the rest of the Indian contingent, I think hockey is poised to launch on another tangent on the continent. There have been years where India have been favorites to win the gold in men's hockey. That is no surprise there. Jakarta, we were favorites as well. But it is for the first time in the history of the Asian Games that both our men's and women's teams are poised to win gold. Men, overwhelming favorites. The highest ranked team in Asia, Olympic bronze medalist, just won the Asian Champions Trophy in Chennai. But the women as well are ahead of the rest. The women have a stiffer challenge when it comes to China that has seriously invested in women's hockey over the past 2 years. They've got the best coaching staff. Their coaching staff, in terms of experience and in terms of win percentage, success rate, is better than ours. But have they been able to cover the gap to a women's team? That remains to be seen. I'm skeptical about that because there wasn't a lot of time. The last couple of times we played China, we beat them. They are in our group, and that group match is going to give us a lot of insight into where they are, where we are, and what kind of a tournament they are going to have, and what kind of a tournament we are going to have. But if I were to put my money on a final for the women's, I think it would be India versus China, and I think it's going to be a close game, and I think we are ahead of them. For the men, if they play at the level that we expect them to play at the level which we believe they can play at, they could win the Asian Games on a canter. They are so far ahead of the rest. The others are catching up. Asia is doing well hockey-wise. South Korea is now revived as a hockey nation. Malaysia is taking strides towards being a good hockey nation. Uh, but in 7 weeks, you can't cover a gap that has been existing for 5 years. You can't do that in 7 weeks. So we saw all the teams in the Asian Champions Trophy, and very smartly, very intelligently, we did not play our best squad, our full squad. The players who won the Asian Champions Trophy, there have been changes from that team to the team that will play in the Asian Games. So some of the players, the opposition would not have had an idea of what it is to face. So it's going to be a different challenge for them facing India. But for the men, I believe that their moment on the continent has come. We are looking at a decade of dominance. For the women, we are ahead of the rest, but Asian Games is a really, really tricky tournament. So I'm not going to be cocky and say that we are going to win it. I'll just say we are favorites to win it.
Perfect. So, you both of us were doing the Olympics, and we all know what hockey meant for us, what that medal meant for us, the bronze from the men's, and the fact that the women's finished fourth. Over that period of time between the Olympics till now, what all has changed about hockey? Like, how has that particular moment impacted hockey overall?
I think the perception in the public has changed, which is the most important thing. I think we are looking at our hockey teams as capable of winning at the highest stage once again. Uh, we always had that with the men, where we expected them to win, go out and win all the time. I think it was a misplaced expectation because honestly, the rest of the world was ahead of us. But we were getting closer and closer and closer, and Tokyo showed us that we can finally mix it up with the best and win again. That confidence that the nation has now with our hockey team, where we expect them to go out and win at the highest stage, is I think the biggest takeaway from Tokyo. For the women, they have joined that club as well. We expect things from our women's team, which was not quite the case earlier on. They were sort of, yeah, we also have a women's team, and we wish they had more resources. We wish they had more infra. The talent is there. So it used to be a lot of that sort of baggage with disappointment. But I think that's in the clear now. I think they are also being looked at as winners, rightfully so. I think they've been wonderful over the last 5 years, especially since Tokyo. They were within a hair's breadth of winning a medal at Tokyo, as we all know. They did that at the Commonwealth Games, where they beat teams higher ranked than them. Really disappointing against Australia in the shootout that they lost.
Yeah.
Very controversial, but they could have played the finals of the Commonwealth Games, and beaten Australia again in a semi-final, in a knockout game. So I think they are really close, and I think this perception that has changed in the people's minds that our hockey teams are now world beaters uh, is just incredible. Ridhima, people don't realize that there are literally only two sports in which India can be world champions. That's cricket and hockey. That's it. There is no other team sport that we play where Indians can be world champions or world beaters. With all that carries. And we know cricket is a global sport. It's played on all continents, yeah, but it's still overwhelmingly a Commonwealth sport. So truly, if we can be world champions in any sport, which has a really global footprint, that's actually hockey. So and finally we have two sports, cricket and hockey, where we can claim to be world champions. And I think to have hockey there with cricket in a team sport where we can produce world champions is
Amazing.
I think amazing. Yeah, I think it's amazing, and that is for me the most crucial thing that has changed since Tokyo. The others are obvious things. Now, of course, in government investing more in the sport, infra being increased, money coming in into the sport, and of course, where both of us started our journey. Hockey India League is going to be launched again. Most probably, the grapevine is that it will be post Paris. So it's been great. It's been great post Tokyo. So yeah, you couldn't have asked for anything more.
Perfect. Let's shift gears to other areas and fields of the Asian Games and talking about athletics. Dude, there has
Yeah,
been a certain rise in athletics, especially in global
yeah,
events. Your
yeah,
expectations of the Asian Games, also the Paris 24.
yeah. It's been incredible. It really, how passionately I feel about India in track and field, primarily because uh, I think we are a sleeping giant when it comes to track and field. When it comes to athletics, I feel we've really not been punching our weight when it comes to track and field. And the thing that got me disappointed about track and field and athletics is there is no other sport which is as global as track and field. That's why it's so difficult to win. Your uh, long distance athletes come from some of the most impoverished places on earth. We're talking about East Africa, we're talking about Sub Saharan Africa. That just shows that if you have the will, if you have the dedication, and if you get the right guidance, there's nothing that stops you from winning a medal in track and field. Absolutely nothing. You've got athletes from Somalia, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Kenya, Morocco winning medals all over track and field, and that's why I always believe that if they can do it, why can't we do it? I think last month, what happened at the World Championship is path breaking. For me, if I were to write a headline for it, if I were a journalist, my headline would have been, "We've just seen the most glorious 2 hours in the history of Indian track and field." What happened on the last day of the World Championship and the last 2 hours of the World Championship, where Parul Chaudhary broke the national record, finished in the top 10. The Indian men's 4 into 400 relay team just took everybody's breath away. Who would have thought we would have beaten Jamaica and we would be leading America in the anchor leg? Just a sight that people like me dreamed of, a decade ago, is coming to reality. And of course, then I think the greatest individual athlete we've ever produced, Neeraj Chopra, doing what he does, becoming the first Indian to win a world championship gold medal, simply sensational. Those 2 hours will be seen back when Indian track and field, for me, starts punching above its weight in the times to come as the watershed moment, as the moment when Indian track and field arrived on the global stage, on the world stage. So I really think India's powering up the Asian Games medal tally will be a lot down to the medals that we will win at the Asian Games. A word of caution here, we live in times where we get carried away very easily. So the field at the Asian Games is not in a lot of events at a world level. We have to realize that, we have to recognize that. But it is still a continental competition, and I think some of our athletes, track and field athletes right now, are the best on the continent.
You know,
And I think they are looking at driving home the advantage.
yeah. I think you pointed out a couple of things that I wanted to ask you about, and you already answered them. But having said that, you just spoke about the field at the Asian Games. We've done well at the Asian Games in athletics. We're still to hit that kind of benchmark, say at the World Athletics Championship. Is it because it's the World Athletics Championship, the competition is a whole lot different, or what needs to change for us to get that kind of medal tally there? Or
It takes time. Yeah.
you mentioned about countries like Africa. How much does genes have a role to play in athletics?
Yeah, I think I'll take the last one first because I think it's the easiest ones to answer. I think, and pardon my language, I think the genes theory has been trashed a very long time ago. It does not exist. It doesn't matter. And I think that's just a load of, yeah, you know what.
Yeah.
So I think that should go right out of the window. If you have enough fast twitch muscle fibers, when you start sprinting, you can be a world class athlete with good training and good infra. There should be nothing that should be stopping you from being a world class sprinter if you have enough physical ability to have and fast twitch muscle fibers. It's the same with middle and long distance running. If you have the right sort of body type, doesn't matter where you're born, who you're born to, what your race is, there should be nothing that should be stopping you. I think my favorite sprinter right now is actually a 400-meter hurdler. He's a Norwegian. Nobody can touch him. He's Carsten Warholm is the guy I'm talking about. He's known as the Viking, and he is just we're in the midst of greatness. We really are with what he's doing in the 400-meter hurdles. It's the same with another Norwegian that we're talking about, Jakob Ingebrigtsen. In the 1500-meter and in the 5000-meter, I think he's the best in the field. Nobody's touching him right now. So I think the race theory has been really trashed a very long time ago. We can't hide behind that. It's very much like the theory that Indians can't play hockey on AstroTurf.
Yeah.
It's I think a very lazy argument. So let's just keep that aside. I think to really kick on and achieve at the global level in track and field, it's a step-by-step process. It doesn't happen overnight. Is basically what I'm trying to say. And starting with Commonwealth and Asian Games is the right way to go about it. It is not the field that you will have at the World Championship. You first start dominating that. You first start raising your standards, raising your levels. And once your athletes start doing that, then automatically the juniors that are coming up the ranks, they start pushing harder because they have to beat these athletes at the national competition. Imagine somebody coming and beating Murli Sri Shankar in a long jump. If you can beat Murli Sri Shankar in a long jump at the national championship, you're going to be a handful at the world championship because he's a very good jumper. But first you need a Murli Sri Shankar, who's consistently jumping above 8. It's the same thing. If you are beating a 4 into 400-meter athlete who is 5th in the world, if you're going to beat him, you're going to be a top 5 athlete in the world. So I think it takes time. It takes a lot of work at the grassroots. I still think our coaching is not up to scratch. I still think we need world-class coaching, which for me is more important than infrastructure as well. You give a good coach and medium or low level infra, he'll still produce a champion. But if you have world-class infra and a bad coach, you're not going to get a champion.
Yeah.
So I think we really underestimate the power of coaching. I think we need world-class coaches. And the biggest example of that is what world-class coaches have done with Neeraj Chopra. They've turned him into a world beater. Same with Mirabai Chanu, and same with PV Sindhu. She's been with a foreign coach for a very long time. The Indian hockey team has had only one Indian coach in the last decade. So if you give our champions world-class coaching, even if the infra is not world-class, I think they'll be world beaters.
Perfect. You mentioned about PV Sindhu. Now, shifting gears to badminton, because that's the kind of game that, we're looking at Asian Games to cover all of it. So badminton, our prospect of a medal. Also, PV Sindhu's form, HS Pranoy's form, Lakshya Sen, and the duo of Satvik Saraj and Chirag Shetty.
Again, I'll take your last one first, Ridhima, because those two excite me the most. They really excite me.
They have excited all of us.
Yeah, they have. And the age that they're at, actually, Ridhima, is just unbelievable what they're achieving. We are looking at a doubles pair, provided they stick together. They look great on court. So I think they have a fantastic working relationship. All the interviews that I've seen, all the reviews that I've read also go on to suggest that they have a wonderful working relationship. We are looking for the first time at a pair that would dominate world badminton for a decade. That would be up there fighting for medals for a decade, if not dominate, right? This pair will be troubling the best for a very long time to come. So I think they won the CWG gold. I think they've shown what they can do at the World Championship. I'm really excited for these two, and they are wonderful. They complement each other on court so well. Of course, what really excites you is how far they have to go, which means how much they can improve. They're not at their peak yet. And a word of credit has to go to their coach again, Matthias Bo. What he's done with these two and the levels that the three of them as a team are reaching is just sensational. I think Matthias Bo has done a wonderful job with both of them. And that team looks really good. We often look at only athletes or the coach, and we seldom look at them as a team. I think that's a very good team that we have with both of them working in tandem with Matthias Bo. And of course, they are very close to Pullela Gopichand as well. We can't forget him, national coach for a very long time. So that team looks fantastic. I'm really excited for both of them, what they will go on to achieve. And the last time we had a doubles pair that excited us like them was Ashwini Ponappa and Jwala Gutta, who won a world medal. They won bronze at the World Championship, which was incredible. Everybody sat up and took notice. But I think these two have gone well beyond that. Coming to the individual uh, badminton players, Asian Games is tough. It's a tough field, unlike track and field.
Capitalize the advantages that they've gotten. Talking about the individuals.
Yeah. And if you see, India has been doing great at the World Championships, but winning gold at the Asian Games is as difficult, especially in the women's category. Uh, it's like winning an Olympic medal. If you take out Carolina Marin from there, everyone else is fighting for a gold medal at the Asian Games. We're talking about Tai Tzu Ying, we're talking about the Japanese, the Chinese are always there. We're talking about the Thai women badminton players. It's a very tough field, so it's going to be tough for PV Sindhu. Her preparation seems to be quite focused, quite singular. Any articles that are coming out say that she's working well with a new coach again. He's a world beater. He's won the All England, much like Gopi Chand had done. So let's see. It's not going to be easy. PV Sindhu is our best bet to win the gold in the women's. But the women's field is loaded. It's like winning an Olympic medal. It's just like that. I'm really excited for HS Pranoy in the men's. I really am. Of course, all eyes will be on Lakshya Sen, what he can do, Kidambi Srikanth. But the kind of year that HS Pranoy has been having, and the kind of month he had only last month, where he beat Victor Axelsen, I think that is just superb. Just superb badminton by him. He's in great form going to the Asian Games. And it's as difficult to win the gold in the Asian Games men's as well. Badminton is tough. It's not. It's a world class field. Yeah, it's not easy. It's a world class field. But if you can crack that, then going into Paris, imagine the mental flip that would happen for our badminton players and our badminton contingent. Because if you can win the Asian Games gold, what's stopping you from kicking on and winning the gold at Paris next year?
Yeah.
So it would be great. The badminton is going to be really exciting and really world class, top level stuff.
Now coming to Neeraj Chopra. Neeraj Chopra and the man, he's changed javelin for us forever. I think nobody would have thought that India as a country would be talking about back-to-back gold medals in a sport like javelin. So Neeraj Chopra, the poster boy, you would say, of Indian sports period.
Yeah, poster boy of Indian sports period, and for me, after winning the World Championship gold, he became the first Indian athlete since Abhinav Bindra who holds the Olympic gold and the World Championship gold.
Yeah.
In any sport. I think that's flown under the radar a little bit. I don't know why, because people should have picked up on it because it is so difficult to do. That shows the level at which you're at. Abhinav Bindra did it back in the day, of course. He won the gold in Beijing, went on to win the World Championship gold as well. But since then, nobody's been able to do it because it's that tough. Global sport, elite sport being played at the global level where not just a handful of countries play it, but it's global. The competition is severe. And for me, he really remains the greatest individual athlete that we have produced simply for what he's been able to achieve and what he's been able to consistently go out and do in world competitions. If he competes, I don't remember a time where he's not ended up in the top three, to be honest. I can't remember. Every time he goes out to compete, he's on the podium. If not winning the gold, he's there and thereabout. Yeah. I can't remember an individual athlete like that who we've produced, who's had that sort of a career. And again, with Neeraj also, we're looking at about 6 or 7 years to come of global achievement. We forget what his age is because of what he's already achieved. It's just unbelievable. But the takeaway for me, and that's the tweet that I had put out, Ridhima, was actually to have 3 Indians at the top 6 at the World Championship. DP Manu and Kishore Jena finished with Neeraj Chopra in the top 6. I think that is monumental because I never dreamed of a time where Indians would dominate an event in track and field in a global competition such as the World Championship. I'm not talking about the Asian Games or the Commonwealth Games. Now, if you take Arshad Nadeem and put him in the mix, 4 of the top 6 were from South Asia or the Indian subcontinent. So the Indian subcontinent is actually what Central Europe was to javelin throwing forever. the Czech Republic, Germany, Hungary, these nations dominated javelin for a very, very long time. But maybe the epicenter has changed, and South Asia, with Neeraj Chopra being the pioneer, has shifted the center of world javelin in our backyard. It's South Asia where the best javelin throwers are coming from.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm saying what a profound statement that is. What a profound statement that is, and what a profound impact that has been. So, Sid, very quickly, gold medal prospects for the Asian Games.
Well, there are so many. Where do I start? But to be honest, there's something that we've not touched upon, which really concerns me more than anything is actually Indian wrestling. And with all that's happened with Indian wrestling and with all that's happening with Indian wrestling, I really wish our wrestlers all the best for the upcoming Asian Games. And I hope they really win gold. Again, it's a tough field. Iran is in there. They're a big wrestling nation. Central Asia, their wrestlers will be there. Japan is a big wrestling nation. So it's not going to be easy. And we know, Ridhima, that the preparation has not been ideal. Vinesh has had a terrible injury to her knee, which means she can't defend her gold medal from Jakarta, which is heart-wrenching. It really just kills you when you think about that. But if you talk about gold medal prospects, I hope our wrestlers really do well. But I'm looking at so many gold medals and so many gold medalists right now. I'm looking at the likes of Tejinder Pal Singh too at the shot put. I'm looking at Jyoti Yaraji in the 110-meter hurdles for the women, 100-meter hurdles for the women. I'm looking at a lot of our track and field athletes. Of course, wrestlers are always there in the mix. In team sports, again, hockey will be our biggest focus area. And who can forget, I told hockey and cricket. Our cricket team's there.
Our football team is there.
Our football team is there. Our football team is there. That could be incredible going. But I think for the football, more than the Asian Games. Yeah, the Asia Cup that will be coming on later on. I think that is the tournament for them. But I'm glad they're there in the Asian Games. I think we have a very good team, and I think we have a very, very good chance to medal with the football team as well. But I think cricket will be a really interesting addition to the Asian Games, and it would be great to see our cricket team there. I will also really looking forward to seeing our cricket women's team. I think they've been incredible in the Commonwealth Games. They gave us some great moments there where T20 cricket was part of the field. But I think the men's cricket team would be an interesting watch at the Asian Games because you never had them. They weren't there in the Commonwealth Games either. So I think medals could come from cricket as well, which could be a wonderful addition and really drive viewership towards the Asian Games. Where a viewer would tune in for cricket. And while the cricket is on, suddenly he's seeing Neeraj Chopra throw the javelin or any other event that's going on while a good 3 hours of T20 cricket is being played. And suddenly they switch to Jyoti Yaraji running the hurdles or something of that sort. And the viewer discovers a new sport and he's like, wow, what have I just witnessed? So that's what cricket could do as well to other Indian sports. So I'll just, replay my statement that I think we're looking at a humongous Asian Games for us as a nation, and I think it will sink in about a month from now when it ends as to what must happen.
Fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed. Here's hoping that what we were able to do in 2018, we're able to surpass it by leaps and bounds in 2023. Or kya pata, is baar वाकई 100 पार. So here's fingers crossed for that. All right, Sid, I'm going to wish you all the best. And hope to see you soon in person very, very soon.
Absolutely.
Are you going to China?
No, I'm not. I'm going to be here very much for Sony in the studios, doing a lot of the sports. But yeah, especially looking forward to hockey with my co-com. I think it's going to be Sunil. So let's relive some of those memories from Tokyo and have a great tournament. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot. And we'll soon, very soon, and I'll send you the link as well.
Sure, Ridhima.
All right, bye-bye. Have a lovely day.
Bye. You too.